Live from Columbia, this is Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now, here are your hosts for Sports Talk, Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, and Tom Hayes.
We don't really have a timetable. I have no idea if he'll play this year or not. I have no idea. In his mind, he's playing, but that's all up to the doctors, and the good Lord.
Just see what Coach Spurrier says throughout this week to play UCF. I don't think we've been doing that bad. We've just been off a little bit, but I think we're going to get on track soon.
And good evening, everybody. Welcome into Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network. Should it be South Carolina Radio Network this afternoon? It is pouring all over the place, but we are high and dry here inside our studios on Main Street. High in terms of elevation. I don't think high in any other form or fashion. Now, let me look at State Man real quick. Let me see your eyes, State Man. Yeah, high just on elevation. Good to be back with you after a couple of nights away. I know I was missed tremendously. K-Mac, no reason to express your gratitude that I am
very happy you're back. Welcome back into the saddle.
Pro, good to see you again.
Shalom.
Mm-hmm. 2 nights away for Yom Kippur. I have been cleansed of all my sins. I prayed for all of you. Pro, no problem for you. Not a whole lot to pray
that's
for.
That's why it's raining.
K-Mac prayed for you as well. You have a 5-year exemption since you gave a kidney last year.
Oh, that's nice.
Steak Man, no hope. I tried. There's no hope for you. Anyway, we have our Pope here in our studios, and they have their Pope up in New York City. So which Pope is more powerful?
A little more fanfare for the other Pope.
Yeah, but which one is more powerful? This Pope has his fingers on the pulse of Sports Talk. So he can either provide us to thousands of listeners across the state or shut us off. That's power. Can the other Pope do that?
Choice B more often.
Yeah, I think the Pontiff in his speech on Capitol Hill mentioned the recruiting woes of South Carolina. That's one of the big issues that probably needs to be addressed immediately.
I'm sure it's been brought to his attention.
I really cannot see how a human being can live in that goldfish bowl. I mean, you could tell that he's about to keel over because he's got to go here, mm-hmm. And he never gets.
It's kind of like being Justin Bieber, huh? Kind of the same thing.
Who is this?
Justin who?
Beaver.
Justin Bieber.
But he's already gone and forgotten this Bieber.
Bieber.
He's gone.
Anyway, we got a lot to do tonight. Swing of things for me. You folks have been swinging all week long. Tonight we'll have our coordinators with us here at the bottom of the hour. Can't wait to hear what they have to say about what has been happening on the football fields for USC and Clemson. Chuck Reedy and Ellis Johnson will be here. 7:30, Citadel coach Mike Houston. Boy, was hoping to catch him coming off a win, but they got handled by Georgia Southern last weekend. But they get Charleston Southern at home, and they are going to be looking forward to this one because the Bucks have had their number here of late. So a crosstown rivalry game there. We'll hear from Dabo Sweeney as well. He did meet with the media last night. We did not get the audio in until after the show, so we'll bring you a little bit from Dabo as far as looking ahead to Notre Dame. So we have got a busy show. 800-956-7266, the number. All right, so how are those Gamecocks going to play on Saturday? That's the question of the night now as we've turned the corner towards another weekend. 800-956-7266. Email talkback@sportstalksc.com and on Twitter @SportsTalkSC. Hit us up in some form or fashion tonight and share your thoughts. If you are a Gamecock fan, how do you feel about the matchup with Central Florida? I think I am going to Gamecocks are about, 15-point favorite or so. I think I will take the points in Central Florida. I think South Carolina will win. I don't think they'll beat them by more than 2 touchdowns. One thing about Central Florida, they might stink on offense, but their defense is not that bad. I mean, the games they've lost, they've all been low-scoring games. They just haven't scored any points. So and you look at South Carolina and you see an offense that has struggled and a defense that has struggled, but a chance for the defense playing against a weak opponent maybe to turn in a better
But their
performance.
special teams has been outstanding. How about that punt game? I think
I really felt bad. I got to admit it. I felt kind of sorry for Spurrier after the Georgia game. It was almost laughable because, I mean, all he could talk about in terms of a highlight was the kicking game.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of sad. That reminds me of one time when Georgia was going to play Virginia before Virginia was any good, before George Welsh was there and Georgia was good, and Vince Dooley used to build up every opponent like they were
exactly.
The Green Bay
Packers
Packers
would do it again.
Yeah, but the only thing he could say about Virginia was that they had the best punter in the country.
Wow.
That's all he could find
work.
to brag about Virginia in building up that game.
South Carolina's going to beat UCF and beat them badly. UCF, they have a couple of 1-point losses to Furman and Florida Atlantic, I think is the other one in their opener.
Florida International.
Yeah, one of those Floridas. That's not the Gators.
One down there in the Miami area.
So if they don't win easily, if they don't win by,
but you're talking about a freshman quarterback.
well, he's going to play some.
Has got to,
but they're going to play some other guy.
play.
I think Spurrier. Well, first of all, Perry Orth's going to play. He said yesterday he's going to play at some point. Spurrier's going to throw everything at him, and if they really struggle, if this is a struggle for them to win, if it's a 14-7 type of game or a 17-14 win, and the Gamecocks putter around, as Spurrier likes to say, then they're going to have a really that game against Georgia, you're going to see about 3 or 4 more of those before the end of the season. LSU is going to do that to you. Clemson's going to do that to you. You go up to Tennessee, they're probably going to do that to you. You better be able to handle your business against UCF. You needed a layup game, a stat game to play a bunch of people. This should be clear the bench. Everybody gets to play. We get to see what we have if you're South Carolina.
You know, I think Central Florida might be thinking the same way in reverse about South Carolina. This is their chance to break through and against a struggling South Carolina.
Well, I think probably they were looking at South Carolina.
They should have looked at Furman as that at home.
Which is why they lost to Furman. They may have been peeking ahead. You know, the key point, though, is I told K-Mac, you worry about the Gamecocks in the fact that they're playing 2 opponents right now, the team across the line and themselves, because you got the Jekyll and Hyde routine is crazy. I mean, you saw that defense against Kentucky. And you say, well, wait a minute, where is that? Where was the second half defense against North Carolina? And they just laid down against Georgia. At the same time that Georgia thought they owed them one because they blew the game last year, at least to tie it on that field.
Well, the offensive line dominated South Carolina up front, just turned the Gamecocks any which way they wanted to. And you know, South Carolina's defensive scheme obviously played directly into the hands. Somebody made a very good point to me earlier this week, and that is that Brian Schottenheimer came to Georgia from the NFL. So as an offensive coach in the NFL, he had seen a lot of Tampa 2. He'd seen a lot of 2-deep coverage, and he knew exactly how to call his passing game against
and now everybody else does too. That's the thing about going through the season.
But is it a bad?
There's tape of everybody and what you do.
Is it a bad scheme for South Carolina K-Mac, or is it just a case of the Gamecock defenders growing into that scheme?
I think I think it always gets down to the players executing your scheme. Now, you have to know as a coach if you have the personnel to do a certain thing, and you're silly to try to do something that you don't have the personnel to pull off. But I'll say whatever they're doing, they're going to have to adjust it somewhat. And it didn't look like they made that adjustment. Georgia pretty much did the same thing over and over. And a guy that some people thought shouldn't even be a starting quarterback in the SEC is now in the record books as having one of the greatest passing games, the greatest statistical completion percentage passing game in the history of college football.
Well, you know, the key point is at the college level, especially, Cohen, I think you're better off having the quarterback make a quick decision than to have him have a cup of coffee. Georgia's quarterback struggled against Vanderbilt, and yes, Vanderbilt had a lot of guys out of position, but guess what? They were in his face early and often. He never got comfortable. It's almost like a jump shooter. If you let him get the first 3 shots open, good luck to you, because now you put a hand in his face and he's still hitting because you let him get comfortable.
Here's the other thing about that game on both sides of the ball. We can beat up on the offense a little bit too, but there are a few plays, and actually the little clips are floating around on social media now from Georgia reporters and players. There's a clip of Farrell Cooper just being picked up and slammed down to the ground. There's a picture of Sony Michel walking into the end zone, and then I think it was Diggs and maybe Walton that were trying to tackle him, and he just knocked them both backwards.
You're just saying
they landed on their butt.
Difference.
Yeah, it was like men playing boys, and it just, if you're South Carolina, you're seeing that played on a loop. And there was another one with Sean Carson running into the line and then getting backed up, and they pick him up and slam him down. It was just a dominating performance. Sometimes a game can get away from you. You have some interceptions, some things happen. If Georgia and South Carolina played 10 times, you get the feeling that Georgia would probably win all 10 times, and maybe by about the same score 7 out of the 10 times. There's that much of a gap in talent between those two teams on both sides of the ball. Did it happen
overnight?
3 years.
Because I mean, over the Gamecocks had won. Remember, USC went into that game having won 5 of 6. They beat Georgia last year.
Yes, right.
The games have all been very close. For the what were you pointing to? You got a headache?
No, I'm pointing my head because a lot of it's in your head. That team needs a psychiatrist. You can talk talent all you want. At least you can put a forward effort. I mean, we've seen Missouri with a less talented Georgia team march in between the hedges and beat Georgia because Georgia just thought they had a pushover and it caught up with them. The talent thing, yeah, you can talk about talent gap, but you gotta be able to execute and play aggressively. They didn't even do that.
When you're getting knocked on your butt,
you
play after play, but after a while though, it just crushes you. And the Gamecock spirit was crushed about midway through the third quarter. I think they realized after they scored the touchdown to get it within 7, and Georgia marched right down the field and scored again. I think at that point they kind of realized, and then Georgia takes the ball in the third quarter, goes right down the field, that we don't have anything for these guys.
All right, so here's the question for South Carolina. You're sitting here 1-2. You should beat Central Florida, and you're 2-2. You're really at that point, by most observations and predictions, realistically, just one game behind where you should be, because you should have beaten Kentucky. So you should be sitting there after Central Florida 3-1. Instead, you're 2-2. So you got to go out and get one somewhere that people didn't think you were going to get. Probably the best chance, based on the way they've looked so far, is Missouri.
Yeah.
They have been underwhelming to this point. And you go out to Missouri. So let's just say you're right. Let's say the Gamecocks blow out Central Florida, get a little swagger back, and go out and beat Missouri. Go out and beat Missouri. Then you're 3-2 with LSU coming to town. Lose to them.
Yeah.
You're 3-3. You beat Vanderbilt. You're 4-3. 2 weeks to go out to Texas A&M. Probably lose that. You're 4-4. And then your season, you've got 4 games to go at Tennessee, at Florida, the Citadel, and Clemson.
You get Florida at home.
Yeah. And you get Clemson at home, you get Citadel at home.
Yeah.
So if you're South Carolina, you hope and pray you can finish 3-1.
Yeah. Well, you can beat the Citadel at home. Florida, maybe at this stage,
who knows who Florida will have,
and who knows who South Carolina, and who knows what the Gamecocks will be by November 14th.
Yeah,
that's almost 2 months away.
That's what gets me going. Every time I look at a season, you think you know a college football team, and then something happens.
Sure.
I think it first popped into my head, and if South Carolina is involved, when a Georgia Tech team had not won a game, in about 19 tries, they beat South Carolina, and then the next year they've owned part of the national championship. And you said, where was this team?
Yeah. All right, 800-956-7266. Back in a moment. Okay, 672-66. Some comments from USC co-defensive coordinator Lorenzo Ward coming up in a little bit after he finishes talking with the media. This afternoon, they had to move that over to the stadium because of the rain affecting things over at USC and really all across the state. Been a very wet day. It's probably going to be a very wet day on Saturday, and that too is going to affect the game. I mean, a wet field, who does it favor? Does it favor the underdog because of the possibility of turnovers both ways? But maybe you're the underdog and you get a couple of breaks because of the weather and there's some turnovers that come your way. It could be a very, in all likelihood, will be a very sloppy field over at USC on Saturday afternoon.
Yeah, but it's a measuring stick game for South Carolina in the terms of they're going to find out how far they drop. We know they have dropped. How far have they dropped? And if they struggle to beat a UCF team that could only muster 15 points, again, no disrespect to Furman and Bruce Fowler, who was great on the show earlier this week, but if you at home can only muster 15 points against an FCS team, then you are in big trouble. Should be in big trouble on the road against an FBS team.
Not making excuses for Central Florida, but maybe they've been hit harder by injury than any FBS team in the country. They've had 8 offensive starters go down with injuries. I mean, who can withstand that? Not to mention the fact that they've played over 40 juniors, sophomores, and freshmen. They only have 7 seniors.
Well, which is why they should get shellacked on Saturday.
Have been beat up.
That game should be over midway through the third quarter.
Well, typically on paper, yes, but I can't see that with a freshman start. He's going to have a limited offensive package. And you know what? I hear what you're saying about Perry Orth, and my response to that is no. I think for the big picture, the rest of this season, they need to live and die with Lorenzo Nunez now until Connor Mitch gets healthy and proves that he can go back in and play to some degree, or maybe not. I mean, Nunez of the 3 is by far, from what I've seen, the overall most athletic.
Well, they got to dust off the Savell Newton plays that they ran when Blake Mitchell was struggling. He had to yank him out of there. The offensive line was really struggling. They needed a mobile quarterback, and he came in there and made the throws. Newton was an upperclassman, though. He'd at least been through the SEC battles.
Right.
This is a kid that at this time last year was playing high school football, and he was not in a passing attack. But Spurrier is going to have to be a little more creative when he substitutes these quarterbacks against Georgia. Oh, it's an obvious passing down. I'm bringing in the passing quarterback. Okay, now I'm going to run. I'm going to bring in the running quarterback. He does have to turn them loose a little bit and let them run the offense. Free there.
All right, coming up at the bottom of the hour, we will have our coordinators with us, and they can tell you from an expert's standpoint what will happen on Saturday, what they think will happen on Saturday with South Carolina and Central Florida. And, of course, our first chance to talk to them since the Clemson win over Louisville. So we'll get their take on how the Tigers looked. You know, the Tigers won by 3, not enough to impress the pollsters. One poll dropped them a spot. The other poll didn't move them at all. And, of course, going on the road in your league against a respectable opponent and getting a win on a Thursday night is good by any margin. However, there are some who feel like Clemson did not play a great game and did not show a bunch of good stuff. We'll find out what they think in a moment. we're back. It is Sports Talk brought to you by South Carolina soybean farmers and their checkoff. Learn more at scsoybeans.org. Pork, powered by soy. To the coordinators in just a sec. K-Mac, some news out of Lorenzo Ward from USC's practice.
Yeah, Whammy confirming some of the stuff that's been trickling out in terms of changes to the lineup, and different guys are going to give a look this week. David Johnson will start at one of the defensive end slots. That would be the one opposite Marquavius Lewis. And defensive end Shamik Blackshear, the true freshman out of Bluffton, will see his first action of the season this weekend. And Torrey Boyd, the junior college transfer, is working at cornerback. Chris Lamons is out again this week. This from Gamecock Central.
All right, we welcome in to Sports Talk, as we do at this time on Thursday nights, our coordinators on the offensive side, Chuck Reedy, on the defensive side, Ellis Johnson. Good to have the two of you with us once again. Let's focus on the Gamecocks starting out here, guys. And Ellis, we'll start with you. What is your opinion of the Tampa 2 defense? How much did you deploy that in your days?
Well, I don't know many people that run it as a sort of a base defense or first down defense. I see it still a lot in college on obvious passing downs. It's very hard to throw into it if you need a lot of yardage, and it takes away some of the things underneath the screen passes and draws that people want to run. But I think when people play it as a base defense and learn to play it well and adjust it well, it can be really difficult to run outside, and it can be very difficult to throw the ball downfield. You got to be good enough in your front to hold up with usually 6 guys in the box, or you can do some stunts and things to try to disrupt the running game. But, it used to be pretty much a staple of the Tampa Bay Bucks back when they won a Super Bowl, and where it got its fame and so forth.
Mm-hmm. Should South Carolina fans, they're griping about soft coverage and everything, the guy completing 20 straight passes, 24 out of 25, but should they keep their mouths shut and just remain patient and let these guys learn this defense, or do they have a legitimate gripe?
Well, I don't, Phil, I can't get into the point where I know what's being called and what technique they've got a young man playing, or is it something within the scheme of the defense, or did the player just not play the technique the way he was told to play it? Mm-hmm. Most of the time it's the second problem, because although coaches don't make the right decision all the time, most of them are not stupid enough to play something that's not going to work. So the player is usually not playing the technique correctly. What could have happened in the Georgia game, it could be that they respected the downfield ability of those receivers and were afraid to play up on them. And the other problem is, you start pressing receivers, you're going to lose your eyes in the backfield, and now you lose some of your run support on the running game.
Chuck, calling plays against the Tampa 2, how did you fare against that? Did you enjoy facing that particular defense, or did you find it troublesome?
Well, we like Ellis said, we felt like we could certainly run the football, against that, and and we were we were gonna get in 3 wides, and and make some decisions about what they were going to do with the linebacker, whether they were going to leave him in the box or get him out of the box, and so it's every defense has its strengths, and every defense has its weaknesses, and you've got to decide whatever the defense is, you've got to figure out how you're going to take advantage of the weaknesses of that defense.
You ever seen a quarterback complete 20 in a row and 24 out of 25? I mean, I know you were a running guy for the most part, but you had to tip your hat to that offense.
Unfortunately, I was at South Carolina in 1998.
Okay. You did see it.
When the kid, I think it was T. Martin. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it was
from Tennessee. He had the record, I think, before this past Saturday. So, I haven't seen 24 out of 25, but I think I saw 23 out of 24.
Well, Ellis, I mean, if you're the defensive coordinator and you're seeing a quarterback just, nip you to death like that, a lot of that was underneath and short stuff. I mean, what do you do? What do you do as a defensive coordinator to stop that?
Yeah, well, I mean, the passes, a large number of them were very easy to complete and really not that effective, except they were, complementing a 250-yard rushing game. So the problems were multiple, and it's not any one single answer to just, hey, let's run this defense. It doesn't all of a sudden just stop things. I really think it went back to the point that players probably weren't playing a technique as aggressively. There may be some mismatches. They may not have had the confidence. Maybe they didn't have the ability. But, that is an unbelievable percentage. Obviously, some of it had to do with Carolina's pass defense. Some of it probably had to do with the fact that Georgia's got very good personnel. You do have to do something, but I go back. I don't know that that's the difference in the ballgame. I think the difference in the ballgame is the fact that the running game and the pass game were both so balanced. You couldn't take both of them away.
Chuck, the Gamecocks are going to start the freshman quarterback, Lorenzo Nunez, against Central Florida. Their offense is struggling a lot as well. Their defense, their offense struggling in combination, not a good formula for a football team. What do you see from Nunez, from what you've been able to see? And if you're Spurrier, do you ride him as long as you can and give him a chance to develop and show what he can do?
Yeah, I don't think they have any other choice, Phil. Coming out of that ball, you can't play a football game where you're running a quarterback in to throw the ball and running another one in to to run. You can't run a game like that. Not at the level people they're playing. And Nunez gives them the best chance, I think, to win. But the thing that I don't think you can do, and Coach Spurrier knows a lot more about it than I do, but I would give Nunez every single snap in practice. The only way he's going to get better is to get reps in practice, and and let Orth just, he's got to learn it mentally. But Nunez has to get all the reps. And the one thing I do know about offensive football, when you're not playing well, and if you're not very good, which they're not right now, what you do, you cut back on your offense. You get down to 3 or 4 running plays that you can execute and execute well, and you get 3 or 4 passes. I mean, if I were there, I'd have a 3-step package, a sprint out package, and then give him some misdirection passes where you can get him on the perimeter and give him an opportunity to get out there and run or throw, and then have a couple deep throws, and that's it. And make it simple. Execution is offensively is the only chance you've got. And if you've got a bunch of plays that you're trying to work all week, you're not going to execute very well on Saturday.
Chuck, as an offensive coach, you've got a true freshman center who played center for the first time last week. You got a true freshman quarterback, other young people on that offense. I mean, how worried are you as an offensive coach with that kind of combination running out there?
Well, Phil, anybody that's got, that can see, saw last Saturday. I mean, they've got some problems. Like you said, you got a freshman quarterback, freshman center. The best running back is hurt. They got one receiver that has proven he can play. He caught one pass for 6 yards the other night. There's a lot of problems. And again, the only way I see to get out of it is to try to simplify and be able to execute a few plays and be able to run the football and try to control it and make a few plays in the throwing game. But it's not a real pretty picture right now.
Guys, hang on. Quick break coming up, and we'll come back and talk a little Clemson with you. We've got our coordinators here, Chuck Reedy, former USC, Clemson, assistant coach, head coach at Baylor, head coach at Goose Creek High School, and Ellis Johnson, former USC assistant, Clemson assistant, pretty much anywhere in the SEC, assistant head coach at Southern Miss and the Citadel. So they know about what they are talking. And we'll be back a few more minutes with the coordinators coming up. And back we are, Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network on a Thursday night, visiting with our coordinators, Ellis Johnson and Chuck Reedy. We always thank them for their time and their expertise. All right, Clemson's got the weekend off. Notre Dame coming up a week from Saturday. Ellis, the Tigers went up to Louisville a week ago tonight, and they won by 3. Wasn't particularly beautiful in terms of performance. They had to hang on at the end. Defensively, what did you see from the Tigers that stood out in your mind?
Well, they continue to play, unbelievably statistically well, and that's the first time I really got a chance to watch them and see the whole game. For a young group, a relatively young group, and I think a very inexperienced group, they're playing great on defense. I think Brent's done an unbelievable job getting going under 300 yards again. I don't think Louisville is a quality offense. I see Bobby struggling between his type of philosophy and having the best quarterbacks he has being a total different skill set. So he's kind of juggling 2 balls right now, and he's trying to have a productive offense, but the only way it's happening is to put the runner and let him run the zone read. So I don't think Clemson has played a really good offensive team yet, but Walford can be a pain in the neck with the wishbone. They handled it. It was the first game for a young bunch. Appalachian finished last year on a great run. They had 10 starters back on offense. They handled them and really embarrassed them. Louisville, under 300 yards, 2 for 14 on third down. I mean, I just think they're playing great on defense right now, but I don't know that they've been tested yet.
That's coming a week from Saturday. Chuck, Deshaun Watson had a couple of interceptions. Maybe looked, I'm not going to say rattled, but maybe looked a little human compared to the hype around him out there. What did you think of his performance and the look of the offense?
Yeah, well, I think he's forcing things just a little bit, but Gallman is developing into a really good back, and so they're able to run the ball effectively. They've got receivers that can make some plays, and the bottom line is. And I agree with Ellis. I don't know that they've really been tested yet, but they're 3-0, and I'm going to tell you, anytime you go on the road and win a conference game, I don't care where you are, it's a good win, and because they're not that easy to come by, and so I'm sure that they're feeling pretty good about themselves right now, and they've got a long here to get ready for what'll be their first real test, obviously against Notre Dame.
This game coming up a week from Saturday kind of has the same setup and feeling of Florida State in 2013. We know what happened that particular night. Chuck, how does Clemson avoid a similar result that they had against Florida State 2 years ago?
Well, I think obviously they've got a good amount of time in preparation. They should be relatively healthy, and Watson, even though he hasn't had quite the magic that he had a year ago, the guy's tremendously talented. He's a great leader, and this is a football team that obviously is playing with a good bit of confidence, and they've got a little bit of swagger about them, and I think they think this is a special season for them, and this will be an opportunity at home to I guess the national game of the day, and so it's a great opportunity for them.
And Chuck, before we let you guys go, Tramel Terry announced last night that he's transferring from Georgia. Tremendous player for you at Goose Creek. Obviously, things didn't work out. The knee injury set him back, and they moved in receiver. I think he wants to play in the secondary. What do you see for him? Have you talked to him? Where do you think he might be looking?
Yeah, I've talked to him for the last 4 or 5 days, and they, Phil, he was injured in the Shrine Bowl towards ACL. And, was an early enrollee, and instead of being able to go through spring practice, he had to rehab, and then still wasn't fully healed going into the fall. And, he really never has had an opportunity to play on offense. They moved him to the secondary without really ever having much of an opportunity to play on offense. And so, he was frustrated, and he's got 3 years left to play too. and he just wants a fresh start. And so he's going to. We're going to wait around. I say we. I mean, I'm just going to try to help him, but wait until near the end of the season or end of this semester, and then decide where he's going to go and where he can enroll in January and go through spring practice.
Real quick, Chuck, 15 seconds. Will he look FBS or FCS or both?
Well, he would like to to stay at the FBS level. Knowing that he's got to sit out a year, but he still has 2 years to play, and he's a very talented player. I don't know what
guys. I got to cut you off. Be right back. All right, thanks again to our coordinators, Chuck Reedy and Ellis Johnson, for being with us tonight here on Sports Talk. Always appreciate what they have to say. Let's give you tonight's recruiting report presented by Future Scholar, South Carolina's 529 college savings plan. Back to school time's a great time to invest in a loved one's college education. Visit futurescholar.com for more information. And you heard us talking about Tramel Terry. I was in touch with him last night after he announced he was leaving Georgia. And he said to me that he's had no contact from any schools because the word's just getting out about him. He said Georgia's given him a complete release to go anywhere. So that's nice. Yeah. 3 years to play too, as Chuck said. He said he's just focusing on making sure he's going to find the best situation to do what he wants. But he said he's wide open to any school in South Carolina. He'll definitely want to look at that first.
Who were his finalists when he picked Georgia?
His finalists when he picked Georgia, that was back in 2012. He narrowed his list to Georgia, USC, Clemson, Alabama, and Notre Dame. Tore his ACL on the opening kickoff of the 2012 Shrine Bowl. I had my glasses right on it. It was a non-contact thing. He picked up a bouncing kick, started to make a cut, and down he went.
And he said that he felt something wasn't right on the turf before that kick even happen.
All right, and little used in the secondary in his 2 years there at Georgia, 2 years that he got the chance to play. USC commitment defensive back J.J. Gibbons, Mechanicsville, Virginia, told us last night he's canceled a scheduled visit to Arizona State for this weekend. Said he's considering taking an official to Clemson for Notre Dame. He has USC set for Clemson, and he's also been considering Ole Miss and Penn State. Receiver Isaiah Graham of Bastrop, Louisiana, went to Arkansas last weekend and liked what he saw from their offense. He said, as he put it, a big push from last year, finally throwing the ball around a lot, and that caught my eye. And he said they're thin at receiver. He can come in and help right away. He plans to move his TCU visit up to October 3rd. He's set for USC October 10th, also working on a possible visit to Tennessee. He talked with Steve Spurrier Jr. on Tuesday, and he's just looking forward to getting up to South Carolina for the visit. No favorite right now, announcing October 30th with teammate defensive end Trevez Moore, who's also going to visit USC October 10th. Georgia defensive end commit Chauncey Manick says he'll take an official visit to USC. And in basketball, 6'10", Sadi Keita of Philadelphia tells us he's going to visit USC this coming weekend, moving that visit up a couple of weeks. And 6'2" shooting guard Christian Keeling of Augusta committed to Charleston Southern for the 2016 class.
If I was it Gibbons, I'd take that Arizona State visit this week because Southern Cal's in town. That'd be a great game.
That would be a great game, yeah. But I'm sure South Carolina's probably happy that he's not going out there because the fewer places they visit reduces the competition. All right, top of the hour break. We'll be back.
John mentioned some potential changes on Tuesday. Are you at liberty to say what some of those definitely will be?
Well, I think we'll start some different guys. I think David is starting for a Coop at end, and we moved Sky to Will and T.J. Holloman to Mike.
What about Fenton at corner?
I don't know who's going to start between Fenton and Al.
Why did Johnson move? What do you like about David?
Well, again, we just feel like we got to get more productive, be more productive at the position, and so we next guy up. That's Coach Spurrier's mentality, and so now it's David Johnson time. Since we're not getting the production from that we needed from Cook.
Jamari's moved back to corner now. Do you expect him to maybe get on the field a little this week?
Well, hopefully we play well enough. I think Jamari will. I watched him on video that didn't look like he lost from the time being on offense to come back and knowing what we're doing on defense. So, that'd be Coach Hope and Coach Brown's call whether he plays or not.
What about Torrey Boyd?
Same way. Again, Torrey playing. They moved him playing a little corner now, and because with Chris Lamont been out injured and Chaz been out injured, so he's out playing corner. So hopefully we'll see him a little bit.
Don't think Elder or Lamont be able to suit up?
No, definitely Lamont. I don't think he'll be ready for another week. But Chaz is a day-to-day deal.
You hope to have Chris going to Missouri next week?
Oh yeah, hopefully we does. It would be good to have Chris come play for us. So.
Do you look at taking the red shirt off of Shamik Blackshear?
Well, I don't know if he had a red shirt on him. So you got to mid-season. So, but Shamik is going to play in this ball game.
Do you feel like the guys that are getting chances to maybe start this week have responded to that in practice this week?
Otherwise, we wouldn't start them. So hopefully they have, and especially at those positions. So I feel like the linebacker move is going to be really good for us, and hopefully we'll be more productive up front.
Anything else?
Thank you, gentlemen.
John mentioned some potential changes. John mentioned some potential changes on Tuesday. Are you at liberty to say what some of those definitely will be?
Well, I think we'll
Live from Columbia, this is Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now, here are your hosts for Sports Talk, Phil Corlew, Kevin McCrary, and Tom Hayes.
Okay, we're back. Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network here on a Thursday night. We've had people holding. We haven't been able to get to your calls. We'll do that coming up in a little bit. If you want to jump back online, 800-956-7266. Time for the Braves Reports, brought to you by Founders Federal Credit Union, helping South Carolinians achieve their financial goals, and by Elite Roofing and Restoration, the most reliable roofers in the Palmetto State. For a free estimate, call 803-753-0530. And so last night, the Braves said there'll be no reduction of the magic number for you Mets. They put their foot down and delivered a message. The Pope arrived today in New York to deliver a message. The Braves delivered their message last night. And that message was what, Mike Morgan?
That they haven't thrown in the towel yet, that there are 9 games left, and they're going to play it to the bone to the very end.
Gotta like that, if you were only being serious.
Well, yeah. I mean, look, there's a lot of things in a situation like this that, thankfully, I haven't covered any teams like that here, but where, as you know, in your many years of covering various teams, when things go bad, things can really go downhill in a hurry in terms of attitude, in terms of conflicts within the ranks. You haven't really had any of that. I think it's at times people have wondered, has this team checked out a little bit mentally? But I don't think that's been an overwhelming issue. Talent has been the overwhelming issue, in which case they don't have much in comparison to what they're playing. So the record is exactly what it should be based on what they're left with here in late September, and you just try and play with a little bit of pride the rest of the way. You got a day off today. You'll take on the Miami Marlins beginning tomorrow in South Florida. There'll be kind of your Joker Phillips Kentucky team versus your Mike DeBose Alabama teams.
It's rolling, baby.
Well, tell us, how do you think the young relievers are looking right now? Because they came up pretty big last night.
Yeah, on a whole, I wouldn't give them high marks. I don't think the bullpen has been particularly good. They certainly, as you pointed out, they came up big, I think, in that series overall. But I think there's a lot of question marks about how many of these guys are really going to be valuable assets next year. I think they believe they've got a good one in Vizcaíno, who could be the closer next season. But outside of that, there's going to be a lot of open jobs in that bullpen, and then there's going to be some figuring out as to who is really worthy of a rotation spot. Several guys have gotten the opportunity. The young man Weber will get the opportunity on Friday. They're still trying to figure out how good Ryan Weber can be. He's only 25, but a lot of different positions will be open for next season, no doubt about that.
Okay, Mikey, thank you much, man. Mike Morgan, our Braves report. As he mentioned, the Braves are off tonight. Dodgers have already won today, so good for them.
Yep.
And we'll be back, and phone calls and more coming up.
kids out here?
Well, first of all, we're preparing for open, and they got a great defense at the beach down in Florida, and this lady just walks up to me, Ansley, and Hope is Charlie Bussey's granddaughter. These young people, they live life the way we do. And
can you tell us what you found out on that?
It's just something they do periodically. He's doing good. Everything is really perfect, to be honest with you, as far as the way the alignment or the break was or what. I have no idea. Watching them.
Impressions on Notre Dame, big win over Georgia Tech. What'd you learn? What have you seen over the first couple days?
Eight 800-956-7266, the number. You can join us. Email talkback at sportstalksc.com. On Twitter at sportstalksc. Website sportstalksc.com, and on Facebook. Like us there, Sports Talk Radio Network. And reminder, should you lose us over the airwaves at any point in time for whatever reason, change in programming or technical glitches, whatever the case may be, tell you how you can stay with us if you want to on our website. You can watch the live video stream at the bottom of the page, the audio stream at the top of the page, and then we suggest on your smartphone a couple of things. On iHeartRadio, we have a couple of our affiliates, WGVL in Greenville, WSEA in Myrtle Beach, and on the TuneIn app, our Columbia affiliates, The Point Radio, 1470 AM, 95.9 FM. All good choices to go to continue to listen to us should you lose us for whatever reason over the airwaves and you want to stay with us. That's how you can do it. All right, let's let you hear what USC co-defensive coordinator Lorenzo Ward had to say to the media. He just met with the reporters outside Williams-Brice Stadium a couple of minutes ago. The Gamecocks having their final practice of the week in preparation for Central Florida. And, of course, there's been talk of moves on the defensive side all week long. Some have been talked about, some have not. He gives the update here right after practice.
John mentioned some potential changes on Tuesday. Are you at liberty to say what some of those definitely will be?
Well, I think we'll start some different guys. I think David is starting for a Coop at end, and we moved Sky to Will and TJ Holloman to Mike.
What about Fenton at corner?
I don't know who's going to start between Fenton and Al.
Why did Johnson move? What do you like about David?
Well, again, we just feel like we got to get more productive, be more productive at the position, and so we next guy up. Let's go Spurs mentality, and so now it's David Johnson time since we're not getting the production from that we needed from Coop.
Jamari's moved back to corner now. Do you expect him to maybe get on the field a little this week?
Well, hopefully we play well enough. I think Jamari will. Watching him on video, that doesn't look like he lost from the time being on offense to come back and knowing what we're doing on defense. So, that'd be Coach Hope and Coach Brown's call whether he plays or not.
What about Torrey Boyd?
Same way. Again, Torrey playing. They move him playing a little corner now, and because with Chris Lamont been out injured and Chaz been out injured, so he's out playing corner. So we'll see him a little bit.
Don't think Elder or Lamont's be able to suit up?
No, definitely Lamont. I don't think he'll be ready for another week. But Chaz is a day-to-day deal.
You hope to have Chris going to Missouri next week?
Oh yeah, hopefully we does. You know, it would be good to have Chris come play for us. So.
Do you look at taking the red shirt off of Shamik Blackshear?
Well, I don't know if he had a red shirt on him. So you know, you got to mid-season. So, but Shamik is gonna play in this ball game.
You feel like the guys that are getting chances to maybe start this week have responded to that in practice this week?
Otherwise, we wouldn't start them. So hopefully they have, and you know, especially at those positions. So I feel like the linebacker move is going to be really good for us, and you know, hopefully we'll be more productive up front.
Anything else?
Thank you, gentlemen.
So sincere.
Oh, whammy. You know, I'm looking at some of the defensive numbers here, and this shocks me. I didn't realize this. You know, we've heard a lot of, you know, I'm not going to say great talk, a lot of positive talk about Boosie Whitlow, for example, and how well he's played. He hadn't made a tackle. 0 tackles in 3 games. Now, I know you can do some things without making a tackle, but
he was
0 tackles in 3 games.
And on that hit on Towels.
He does have 2 quarterback hurries. Maybe that's what people
that led to an interception.
But he's got 0 tackles at this point. Taylor Stallworth in 3 games, 3 tackles. David Johnson, who's going to be starting, he's got 2 tackles in 3 games. Just looking at some of the numbers, it can be misleading. I get that. Marquavius Lewis in 3 games, 6 tackles.
But there hasn't been a lot of tackling out there. Georgia only faced a couple of third downs. They really haven't made a lot of stops. Now, when they have, though, in the second half of those games, it was 3 and out. So the offenses weren't even running a lot of plays. It has been a crazy season defensively for South Carolina. Just goofy.
I'm still waiting to see. Look, I don't mean to be – I'm not criticizing here, but I mean, it is what it is. I'm still waiting. I'm still waiting to see Bryson Allen Williams. I'm still waiting to see Bryson Allen Williams, you know, show me why he was so ballyhooed coming out of high school. He's got 7 tackles in 3 games.
He's a backup
still can't crack the lineup. I know he's a sophomore, but I mean, isn't he a third-year sophomore? Wasn't he redshirted his first year?
He played last year as a true freshman.
I thought last year was his redshirt freshman year.
No, he was a freshman.
Okay, then he should be better this year, and he still can't crack the lineup. I'm just expecting. You know, and like the coaches were too, they're expecting more out of some of these guys than they're getting. So anyway, Gerald Dixon, number 44 defensive end, he's got 6 tackles on the season. Maybe I'm expecting too much. Maybe I'm expecting after 3 games for you to have, to average at least 4 or 5 tackles a game, be around 14, 15. Well, let's just, for argument's sake, and I know they've played maybe different opponents or different types of opponents, and maybe it's comparing apples and oranges, or maybe not. Maybe it is a true compare. Let's just look at Clemson's defensive numbers and just just take a look. For example,
this is you're compared. Why don't we look at the Panthers' defensive numbers?
Christian Wilkins, all right, in wait a minute, this isn't. I don't have updated stats either.
Good, thank you.
This is even
that'll save you from yourself here.
Yeah,
I know that. I know this is against App State and Wofford, but
Christian Wilkins in his first 2 games had 14 tackles.
I guess App State and Wofford.
Ben Boltware had 13 tackles. Jabril Robinson had 12 tackles.
App State.
In the first
Here's
2
the
games.
deal: South Carolina and Notre Dame are the only 2 teams in college football that have played all FBS opponents in the first 3 games. So I mean, you can't.
But they're not making plays. But I don't care who they're playing. They're not making plays.
You don't have to read off the tackle. Tell me Clemson has a better defense than South Carolina. They did last year. They do this year by a lot. That's not gonna. You can break it down.
I realize I'm not breaking news by saying that. But come on, some of those defensive numbers are really pitiful.
Ellis Johnson
they haven't forced to punt the first half.
Ellis Johnson told you what, Corn? You were sitting there listening to him. They have not been tested yet.
Clemson.
Yes.
That wasn't a test last Thursday
South
night?
Carolina has been tested, and they haven't passed.
Well, that was a test last Thursday.
No, Ellis Johnson told you 2 weeks ago, when Bobby Petrino has his quarterback, he's dangerous. He doesn't have him yet. He told you that.
That's true. That's true. He's searching for a quarterback, but still, they
dominated. They dominated that game.
That was who did?
Clemson
dominated which game?
The Louisville game. Defensively, up front, they dominated Louisville. I mean, Louisville averaged less than a yard per carry running the ball. Clemson had 5 sacks. They dominated that game up front. Now, I get what Ellis is saying. Louisville, they're not Notre Dame. They're not Georgia Tech. They're not Florida State.
Well,
that's
look what
still
I found.
a pretty decent team.
Updated Clemson defensive stats. How about that? Let's just take a look here. Kevin Dodd's got 13 tackles at defensive end. Their two leading tacklers, one's a linebacker, Goodson with 21, and the other's a safety, Green with 20. Shaq Lawson has 13 tackles. Ben Boulware has 12.
Shaq Lawson's the best defensive player in the state, probably. I mean, if you're trying to make the point that Clemson has better defensive players than South Carolina, that's a very, very easy point to make right now.
We've got erroneous.
I don't think anybody's going to argue that.
I've got a list of erroneous stats here. This is 2015. This is after 2 games. The Clemson defensive numbers here. Hits, assists, total. Yeah, this is totally different from what I'm looking at now. But anyway, you get the point where some of Clemson's key players who should be making plays are making plays, and I don't think South Carolina is getting the same production from some key defensive players who need to be making plays. I mean, Gerald Dixon should have more than 6 tackles. Marquavius Lewis should have more than 6 tackles after 3 games. I don't care if you have to run the guy down from the backside and tackle him 5 yards down the field. Make the dang play.
The defense should have forced 1 punt in the first half of a football game. I mean, the fact that in 17 offensive possessions in the first half, teams have scored 15 times, that is insane.
The other question is
through a quarter of the season.
You can't measure defensive tackles by, how many tackles he made when the ball is getting thrown over his head. He's going to go 30 yards down the field and make a tackle.
Well, this is true. That's a good point. We'll be right back. All right, we're back, 800-956-7266. That's our phone number here on Sports Talk if you'd like to join in on the program tonight. Time to get to the high school football report for tonight, brought to you by Farm Bureau Insurance. With new auto insurance rates from Farm Bureau, you could be seeing a whole lot of money going back in your wallet, even if you've received a quote before. Rates are now more competitive than ever. Get a free quote today from your local Farm Bureau insurance agent. And one good high school game tonight on the slate is going to be taking place right here in Columbia It's South Florence and Ridgeview. That South Florence offense, looking forward to seeing what kind of numbers they can put up tonight against a pretty good Ridgeview team. Speaking of numbers, let's take a look at some of the leaders statistically around the state, courtesy of the High School Sports Report. Leading rusher, Blair Moore from Patrick Henry. He's got 989 yards and 16 touchdowns. Gavin Allen from Clarendon Hall, 887 yards and 10 touchdowns. Trey Caesar, Hail Caesar from Lamar, 887 yards, 11 touchdowns. It's amazing for a town that small how many outstanding football players Lamar has put out over the years. You go back to Tommy Suggs, for example. Who was the punter there many years ago, punted at Clemson, had a cannon for a leg. I saw him punt in Latta one time when Latta and Lamar were in the same region. Anyway, of course, you've got B.J. Goodson, Clemson's leading tackler, is from Lamar. And Levon oh, come on, Corn. Levon Kirkland was from Lamar. John Abraham was from Lamar. And on and on. Yeah.
Said the water.
Michael Hamlin. Was it Michael Hamlin from Lamar? I think he was.
He was.
Yeah.
Michael Hamlin.
He will be tonight.
Yeah.
He's a Lamar guy.
Janaric Reed of Marion, 842 yards. Jordan Fair from McBee, 782 yards. Rick Henry from Channel 10, a McBee grad. Bless his little heart. He's got McBee rated the #1 team in the Midlands, regardless of region. That's well and good. Congratulations.
Well, as far as
but my only
is
problem is McBee's not in the Midlands. That's a PD school. It's not a Midland school.
Stop crying.
You got to go way on up
Goodness
Highway
gracious.
1 to get to McBee. That's a PD
If
school.
he
Rick
put him in
Henry,
the
wake
PD,
up.
That's what he.
Quit showing favoritism. And where's Latta, by the way? I'm going to put Latta in the Midlands poll. Leading passer is Cole Martin of Nation Ford, 1,770 yards, 18 touchdowns. Oliver Michaud of Porter Goud, 1,572 yards, 9 touchdowns. Lindsey Robinson of South Florence, got to watch this guy, 1,536 yards passing, 18 touchdowns. Austin Scott of Spartanburg, 1,400 yards, 16 touchdowns. Leading receiver Larry Collins, Lower Richland. Hello, in-state teams, 36 catches, 647 yards, and 9 touchdowns. He leads the state. Hunter Cook of Faith Christian, 594 yards, 11 touchdowns. Hakeem White, South Florence, 583 yards on 28 catches and 8 touchdowns. Back in a moment. back, Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network. On a Thursday night, Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, the professor, Tom Hayes from downtown Columbia, Main Street. Of course, Sports Talk is your sports talk show of Main Street, South Carolina, from the mountains to the coast as we head down to Charleston. Welcome in Coach Mike Houston from the Citadel Bulldogs to take on Charleston Southern, Johnson Haygood Stadium on Saturday night. Coach, good evening. How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you guys?
We're great. Thank you for joining us. Charleston Southern beat you last year and beat the Bulldogs the year before you got there. So I know your guys are excited about getting a chance to end a 2-game losing streak to the cross-county rivals.
Well, the biggest thing our kids are excited about is being back home in Johnson Haygood Stadium and, being in front of our alumni and the Corps cadets. And we've had, 2 great evenings there in front of the Corps and with our fans. And so we're excited about Saturday night and welcoming CSU in Johnson Haygood Stadium.
Absolutely. Got another good ball club over at CSU. And what do you recall about them from last year, and what have you seen on tape in preparing this week?
Well, obviously they were a solid team last year, and they're the exact same thing this year. They've got a lot of experience coming back on offense, and really 2 outstanding quarterbacks that either one could be just top-notch starters on any FCS football team, and then a third who is a proven winner. So they have tremendous depth there at the quarterback position, which is so vital. They have speed at all the skill positions, all their offensive line returns, and they've got so many standout players on defense backs. So just a really solid ball club.
You got off to a 2-0 start. You go to Georgia Southern and run into a buzzsaw there. Of course, they're a pretty good ball club, so no shame in losing at their place. What was the difference in the performance last week compared to the first 2? Was it just more the opponent than anything else?
Well, obviously Georgia Southern's an outstanding team. They're the Sun Belt champion. They're picked to repeat. I think they're better this year than they were last year. They have just so much team speed and such great size, and they really got it rolling down there. But certainly, I do feel like we made them look, a lot better than they were on that night. They were good on that night, but we certainly helped them out a ton with just critical errors on our part. And now, whether it's just mistakes that we have not been making the first 2 games, or just a little bit of handling the stage that we were in. But certainly we put ourselves in a situation where we really did not have a chance to be competitive in a game in which I thought we could be competitive in. But certainly they had a lot to do with that. And Coach Fritz, an outstanding coach and a proven winner, and he's really got it going down there.
Do you think this week in practice you've been able to correct those problems, kind of iron out those issues?
Yeah, we've got a great week, and offensively we've been able to smooth out a lot of things that kind of popped up the other night. And defensively, I thought our kids played pretty good the other night. At the end of the day, Matt Breida and some of those running backs were, just a lot more athletic, a lot faster than we had seen, and made us miss in some tight spots. And with what we were trying to do defensively, being as aggressive as we were, we gave us some big runs. But been able to correct a lot of things this week and get ready for Saturday night.
Talking with Coach Mike Houston from the Citadel. So, you're averaging 400 rushing yards per game. That's the best in all of in college football in Division I. That's your thing, and you've got it going right now on the ground.
Well, if you're going to run triple option, you better be one of the top rushing teams in the country. So. We've been fortunate enough to lead the nation in rushing several times, and to have a lot of success doing that over the years, and excited about the way we're playing right now on offense, and hoping to keep that going Saturday night. But obviously we're going to be tested by a very good defense.
It appears your quarterback Dominique Allen in this offense, he appears to be a guy that's just a perfect fit for you, and is maybe getting better by the game.
Well, he ran this offense in high school. He was recruited by the Air Force Academy, went to prep school there for 1 year, then came to us when we got here about 1.5 years ago. And so it's an offense that he's very familiar with. He's a very smart player, knows the offense inside and out, and the one thing that he is getting right now is true in-game experience at the college level. And so I've said many times, you get experience by making mistakes, and unfortunately, you have to make mistakes before you can get the experience. And so, he's played very, very well early on. He has made some mistakes, and I do think he's learned a lot from those. And so I think you'll see him continue to improve all throughout this season.
You got to love what you're doing on third down. 61% conversion on 38 attempts on third down. Is it the play calling, the execution? Something's going well for you on third down.
Well, the biggest thing is giving ourselves manageable third down.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're good on first down and you're good on second down, and third down is a third down and 4 or less, then you can convert a lot of those. So I've always equated success on third down really to success on first down, whether it be offensively or defensively.
So through 3 games, you've thrown it 19 times. So
Right.
I got to believe in your world, in a perfect world, you'll go through a 11-game season and won't throw it 100 times in your world.
Well, it just depends. It's we are a run first team, and certainly we're going to take shots. Usually when we take shots, those shots are pretty big plays,
Mm-hmm.
which we've had several of those. But as far as a number that we're going to put on how much we're going to throw it, we don't have a set number that we want to throw it each week. We want to throw it when we want to throw it, and we want to throw it when we see it's there, and hopefully that works out to be a big play for us.
Now, your defense been pretty opportunistic. You've got 6 interceptions on the defensive side. You got to like that in your first 3 games. What's happening on the defense to put those guys in position to come up with the picks?
Well, I think we're playing with so much more confidence on that side of the ball this year, and playing so much faster and playing together more. Last year we just never did get comfortable. We never felt like we were all on the same page, and we never were as aggressive as I wanted us to be. We talked about it and I preached it, but we never did really exhibit it on the field. And so it's really a huge stress this off season through spring practice and through fall camp, and I think that the kids, they're benefiting from being together and in the same system for the second year now. They're benefiting from just feeling more comfortable in their role and having the experience of what they're seeing and what they're expected to do. And it really frees them up to play faster. And I think they've worked very, very hard to develop themselves and to do what they need to do to be better in the scheme.
Are you concerned about your turnover number at this point? 6 lost fumbles and 3 interceptions thrown by your side.
Well, certainly that's something that you gotta really be on top of if you're going to run this offense. And unfortunately, that was our downfall last week. But over the years, we've ran this offense for many, many years. We've had nights like we had last week, and they pop up every once in a while.
Mm-hmm.
And fortunately, Coach Thompson and the offensive staff, they have done a great job of always being able to respond after a night like that and to really come back strong. And so I expect us to rebound, and I don't really expect it to be a problem throughout the year.
Should be a good one. I know Citadel fans are tired of losing to Charleston Southern, and the Buck fans, they want to keep it going. So I imagine you'll have a big spirited crowd at Johnson Haygood. Hope the weather will be okay for you down there, and we'll talk to you again soon.
All right, and we're hoping it clears up for Saturday night. I expect it to, and hope we have a great crowd, and the kids will be excited to go. So looking forward to it.
Thank you, Coach. Good talking to you once again.
All right. Thanks a lot. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate it. Mike Houston from the Citadel. He's putting some excitement back into the Citadel football program. And, you knew based on what he did at Lenoir-Rhyne, they led the nation in rushing in Division II, and now it's taking hold at the Citadel. 400 rushing yards per game. And if they're doing that, they're not going to throw the ball very much. There's no need to. And they're going to win a lot of games as they move through their Southern Conference schedule. Already have 1 league win. Back in a moment. All right, Dabo Sweeney in just a moment, but a little bit of news coming out of Steve Spurrier's coaching show, K-Mac.
Yes, on the injury front, Deebo Samuel apparently out this week with a tweaked hamstring, and it's going to be replaced by freshman DJ Neal.
Who's going to catch the football?
According to Spurrier.
Who's going to catch the football?
Spurrier maybe poking at his defensive coaches a little bit here, saying he hopes they're smart enough to keep Sky Moore at the Mike linebacker spot, not the Will, where they're talking about moving him.
Not talking about R.
Yeah. Well, Spurrier
didn't get the memo.
Using some passive-aggressive suggesting there on his radio show today. Spurrier acknowledged that Steven Garcia is in town and was at practice today.
Spoke at the touchdown club in Columbia.
Track him down. You can probably head into the 5 points area.
See, you had to go there.
I would imagine he's
somewhere.
Go to Vista I would start at the Village Idiot, maybe work my way over to Pavlov's.
Just don't pull ahead of him into a parking spot.
Yeah. Spurrier still talking up Scarnecchia and says he needs a chance soon unless Lorenzo tears it up. Yeah, Scarnecchia, but Scarnecchia to Spurrier. This from David Cloninger here. Spurrier says the game has changed. Everybody's in the zone read, the spread. It's different from what he coached at Duke and Florida and the Bandits. And apparently how much longer are you going to coach came up, inevitably, as it does after a loss or two. Spurrier said, quote, "I've got 3 more years on my contract, and the pay's pretty good, so I'm not planning on tossing in the towel."
I thought he said 5 or 6 more years a little while ago.
Back down to 3. Back down to 3 now.
Careful,
they get a win,
now.
maybe we'll get out 5.
That's not going to cover an entire recruiting class, so be careful. All right, Dabo Sweeney, no such problems right now. Tigers 3-0, ranked number 10, as high as number 10, week off. Notre Dame coming to town, chance to make a big splash nationally. This was from after practice last night, and we thought we'd bring you a little bit of it here now. So here's Dabo talking about getting ready for the Fighting Irish a week from Saturday.
Notre Dame, well, they're really good. Watching them defensively, it looks like we're getting ready to play Clemson. To be honest with you, that's what it looks like. Really good up front, strong, athletic. Backers are big, strong, make a lot of plays. Secondary can cover, athletic, run, a lot of press man coverage. We haven't seen much of that at all. These first 3 games, everybody's kind of tried to play on top of us. This is a whole different type of animal that we're getting ready to deal with in Notre Dame. This is a legit, top 10 football team. I really don't see a weakness in them. I really don't. Same thing offensively. Great wideouts. Everybody talks about Fuller, number 7, but they're all good. They can all make plays, tight ends, backs, quarterbacks, exceptional. He's done a great job for them. He's already won a game on the last play of the game. You could just see him playing with a lot of confidence. Now he's come back and won a big game against Georgia Tech. So offensive line is as good as we're going to see. Bunch of experience. Really good football team. And, it's one of those games where, it comes down to 3, 4, maybe 5 plays. It's that type of game.
Coach, you play against a big physical offensive line against Boston College every year. Does this offensive line kind of remind you of theirs a little bit?
They're just – the biggest thing is, they're all talented, but they're experienced. They just got a lot of guys that have played. And, that's a hard thing to replace. It's one thing when you play some talented guys that are still a little green. It's another thing when you play some ripe old veterans. And these guys have played ball, know what they're doing, well coached, fundamentally sound. This is a talented team that plays hard and is well coached at every single position.
You weren't kidding when you talked about Hunter Renfrow looking like a trainer. But after talking him up throughout fall camp, he validated pretty much what you said. He looks like what we thought he was.
I guess y'all think I lied to y'all. I try to tell y'all the truth, but no, he's a player. There's no way else to say it. Said the same thing about Adam Humphries for 4 years, and everybody wants to know why Adam Humphries is playing. Same reason the Bucks are playing. He's a player, and this kid is. The biggest thing with Hunter had some offers. He just was 155 pounds playing quarterback and just had the skill set, great ball skills, smart, high football IQ, coach's son, just too small. He's got good height, and a good frame, but he's just too small. Great baseball player. And, he came in, he redshirted, he's 175 pounds now. He's 20 pounds heavier than when he got here. And as he gets stronger, because he's still not even close to what he's going to be. But as he continues to develop, because he's got all the other stuff. He can fly. And the biggest, he's a great change of direction guy. He's got excellent ball skills. And again, he's just an instinctive, savvy guy. So, you know, he's a freshman running around out there, and he's a confident kid. That's why he's playing. You know, it's what we've seen in practice.
A lot of praise there for Hunter Renfrow, whose father played where? Where does Dad play football? Come on.
Lakeview.
Very good, K-Mac. And where do you play college ball? Wofford. Got a lot of great football genes in that family, the Renfrows. All right, Ridgeview is leading South Florence 14-0 first quarter over Memorial Stadium in Columbia. A little bit of surprise to me there, but what do I know? Steve Spurrier on a bit of a roll tonight. He announced on his show that freshman corner Rashad Fenton is going to sit out the first half of Saturday's game for missing classes. And he said, quote, Rashad will need to get his act together and play the second half or not play much here. What else did he say? He's just on one of his little rolls. Asked about signing a highly rated quarterback. He said, quote, gosh, Georgia's quarterback is a kid that transferred in from Virginia. He said also talking about his defense, he said, where'd it go? We keep thinking we got some defensive players that can really play, but we haven't done it in the games. So he is, listen, he's being very blunt in assessing his team at this point.
Look at Kentucky the second half, though. I mean, the guys got potential. They just have
and against North Carolina the second half, except for some of the big plays they gave up to Elijah Hood, but they kept him out of the end zone.
But look what they did for the whole half twice against Georgia.
Well, maybe Georgia's a great
Georgia. I don't think there's any doubt about that.
Above,
but you know? I mean, at South Carolina, they thought they were a great program. I mean, that's the biggest concern I think for South Carolina is just you thought you had built the program, and a program is you might have ebbs and flows, but you're still going to have playmakers. You're still going to have dynamic players. You're going to lose to Georgia every now and then. You're going to lose to your rival Clemson, but you're still going to have a program, and you're going to be able to sustain graduation and have different guys in there. And for a while, South Carolina did that. They replaced Stephen Garcia with Connor Shaw. They replaced Marcus Lattimore with Mike Davis. They had good players, but now who are their
well-run drive?
Who are their leaders? Who are their best players?
Yeah.
Who's their next first-round NFL player?
All right, a few emails to get to here. This is from Jimmy, who writes about the Georgia win over USC. Georgia was simply a more talented team on both sides of the ball. Our defense made Lambert look like a superstar. Yes, it did. This is John writing in. USC has a huge problem identifying talent and has made recruiting mistakes that are coming back to haunt them. It's time to replace some coaches. Who needs to go? Who knows? The bright spot is that USC should turn over the ball to the freshman quarterback and just take their lumps this season.
Spurrier, he's now saying he's musing if coaches should start teaching holding since it's never called. That's another idea.
I told you, I've been saying that for years.
He says they're not getting off blocks, but they're not tackling very well either. So that's not a very good call. Hey, Spurrier's he's finishing strong on his call-in show.
All hope is lost. All hope is lost. All right, tomorrow night on Sports Talk, Lee Sterling will be here. Sterling picks. The Governors will be here. Football Filibuster will give you our picks as well and take your calls and fill you up and in on everything else that's going on. Thank you, State Man, K-Mac Pro, everyone out there. Thanks for being with us. We'll see you tomorrow night.